A week later, Amicus and I sit in the gardens, enjoying the cool, fresh morning air. So what's your main argument? That Adastra has been on a steady rise politically and economically since the beginning of the Adastra policy era. Why take steps backwards when we're so clearly moving in the right direction? And Cassius? That Adastra's decline over the past few hundred years is due to that policy. Instead of looking outward to the children and other siblings, we should instead be looking inward to better ourselves.
But sometimes, like to better yourself inwards, it requires you looking outwards to other cultures and people for perspective.
Yep. Amicus scratches his nose. Well, that's the basics anyway. Obviously, there is much, much more to it. So how are you going to counter that argument? It seems like a pretty good one to me. If the wheel of your chariot is caught on a stone, does that mean the campaign should be turned around and ended? He looks at me and I stare back. Well, the answer is no. You simply need to give it a push. In other words, the downturn over the past 200 years is simply a stone in the road. Why throw away 10 millennia of progress due to a few centuries of light hardship?
Few centuries, huh?
Yeah. Well, they do live for like a few centuries.
I forgot.
That's like a lifetime. Besides, it was completely predictable. The war with the Chemians and the resulting end of diplomatic relations with most of the other siblings caused it. We certainly can't have any leverage in the galaxy when the only siblings speaking to us are the cats. If we can fix those relations, we could be well on our way to prosperity again. Well, that and unstunting your children. Yes, that too. Which I still can't believe you did. Again, it wasn't me. Anyway, that will also be part of my argument. Upraise the children fully, as the partial uplift programs are now clearly a failure. And the end of slavery. And consider the debts repaid, yes. Debts that didn't exist in the first place, sure. Listen, Marco, I have to use very careful language so as not to upset the people. Not to mention the triumvirats. Feelings are sensitive at times like these, and must be considered despite how tedious or untrue it can be. Amicus is right. The wolves are very sensitive when it comes to their culture and history. I'm starting to realize that their hubris is probably their biggest downfall.
Probably, yeah.
I lean back on the bench, starting to feel a little sweaty under the rising sun. Isn't that going to be Cassius's whole thing, though? Appeal to their feelings, throw out the etiquette, and get straight to the point? Possibly, but I'm confident my composure and consideration will win over the triumvirates. You ever consider not being so confident, maybe preparing for the worst? I'm confident that I'm prepared for the worst.
That's honestly very sweet. I think it's really cute.
What a turn! It's a turn of phrase at least. Like, I appreciate what he did there.
If he was a real politician in our life, I would hear that response and be like,
you know what?
Okay, good. Yeah, things are gonna get really shitty.
Smooth.
I appreciate that you're aware these things are gonna happen and that you're gonna be prepared for them. So yes, good response.
I roll my eyes and Amicus glares at me. I don't understand why you're so insistent on projecting yourself onto me. Just because you aren't sure of yourself doesn't mean that I should be the same. I frown. Ouch. Sorry, but I strongly believe in what I'm doing. How can I ever be an emperor if I'm not sure that what I'm doing is right? Sure, but all I'm saying is that you might not always be right, and you need to be prepared for that. Trust me, I'm learning as I go, and after the last trial, I'm preparing for everything.
Are you, though?
How are they even going to choose the winner? Wouldn't they just pick who they agree with most? Technically, no. They're supposed to choose the best performance, the most convincing and dramatic.
So even if they don't agree with him at all,
which seems like a stupid system
that's
for voting,
very dumb. So, the person that puts on the best show gets the win, regardless if their policies are really shitty.
How very woven. So you just have to convince the majority of the triumvirates. Well, yes, but Kato's vote holds twice the power of a triumvirate vote. So I need at least 4 triumvirates or 2 triumvirates plus Kato.
Kato has more electoral votes.
Yep, because he's the acting emperor.
Mm-hmm.
And what are Kato's beliefs? Amicus shrugs.
Oh no.
He doesn't talk about them much, but again, it shouldn't matter. That's naive. It's incredibly naive. He's certainly right about Kato not talking much about himself. But that tends to be the way everyone is around here. I can tell Amicus isn't all that interested in talking about this, though, so I try to think of something else. What started the war with the Chemians, by the way? Their ambitions got the best of them. They began to interact with some of our abandoned children, some of which were very close to Adastra. Oh, is that illegal or something? Well, technically not if they're abandoned, but it's never really happened, considering if a species is abandoned, then that's a signal to other siblings that the race is unupliftable. So they weren't breaking any rules. Even if they weren't breaking laws, they were clearly provoking us by uplifting races just a few hundred light years away from our moon. They are an arrogant people. Nefera seems nice, always polite. Except for all the button pushing he clearly did earlier.
Yeah, definitely not always polite. Yeah. He was being very, aggressive.
He also used an anti-gay slur against Amicus.
He had tail razor. I think I should be a pro-gay slur. I like that one.
Amicus smirks.
A pro-gay I guess a slur is always negative.
Well, so one of those nice uplifting slurs.
we need some positive slurs around here. That's part of my campaign.
A slurry of positivity. Well, that's how they often get their way. A facade of niceties to pull you into their trap. Either way, the war was a draw despite their technical advantage. Wolven tenacity beats Chemian tech any day. Despite Amicus's more progressive views on things, he's not immune to Wolven hubris either, it seems. And there's some patriotism going on here. But I'm not in the mood to argue with him about that. It's like when different countries the people of different countries have wildly different opinions about how a war even ended. Like they just literally have a different reality on those things. Yeah. You know, Neferu reminds me of a culture on Earth, the Egyptians. I wonder if they're uplifted there too. Amicus looks down at me, then snorts. More likely, they just share simple aesthetics. Your people being uplifted twice while having no knowledge of the Galaxius is impossible. The Chemians rarely abandon anyway. Actually, I don't think they ever have. They tend to have the best of luck.
I was like we talked about earlier, people who believe in alien interaction with human beings.
Yeah.
Egypt is the hot spot. Yeah. In fact, I've actually never heard anyone theorize that. Well, I mean, I don't think. Do people think that aliens interacted with the Romans? Is that a thing?
No, it's usually not the white people. Remember. So it's the Aztecs and the Egyptians. How could they do that? China, Japan. This is impossible.
Aliens hate white people.
Yeah, aliens don't like white people. Amicus stretches. Honestly, though, this talk is boring. This is my only day off before the trial next week. We should be doing something fun. Like what? Amicus looks around, then grins. Want to practice Pugnu with me? No. Come on. I know Amicus would go easy on me, but I really don't feel like getting sweaty and exhausted right now. Why don't we just go to the island and have a picnic again? Oh, yeah, great idea. Amicus grins and hops up, already making his way to the beach as he calls out to Com to get the food ready. With a sigh, I get up and jog after him toward the sightseer.
Yay, we're going back to the beach.
I stand on the beach, hands on my hips as I look out at the sparkling lake, the breeze that's coming off the water cool and soothing. Adastra City sparkles in the distance as well, making the tall structures look like they have a glass or crystal coating. I look back at Amicus, the wolf in the process of spreading out a blanket under the shade of the trees. You sure Kato isn't going to kick your ass for doing this again? I see the wolf's ears flick down for a moment. That was for missing an appointment. I don't have any today.
No.
I resist telling Amicus that it was about much more than a missed lesson, and instead I walk over to help him spread the blanket out more evenly.
Yeah, it was more about devotion to what the task at hand.
And also his ongoing delinquency, basically.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, shall we eat? Amicus pulls the cloth off the basket, revealing tightly packed and covered plates, along with the bottles of wine and Verdi. This time, the food is a selection of wraps full of meat and cheeses along with chilled, salted cucumbers. Amicus splays out in a luxurious Roman way as he pulls his plate of food up next to his chest, immediately stuffing a whole wrap in his muzzle. I'm a bit more dainty, instead sitting next to the wolf cross-legged as I nibble on my own wrap. We eat in silence for a while, Amicus gobbling up the majority of the food like always. I notice the wolf drinking more wine than he usually does, probably because it's his day off. After taking a particularly large swig, he points at my legs. I don't know how you're comfortable doing that. Looks like hell on the knees.
I love sitting crisscross applesauce, as they say.
Oh shit, what is... I'm trying to remember what his legs look like, or if I've... Do you see his...
Who?
Amicus.
I mean...
He says that looks painful on our knees, and I'm like, is he plantigrade or digitigrade?
Is he what?
You know, like werewolf feet? The way they're all bendy and shit?
Like they have the back curve.
Like dog feet. You know how like sometimes like furries have like dog feet and stuff? As opposed to like
wagged her tail
feet.
as you pointed at her.
As I said furries. It happened again.
My dog's a furry, guys.
Like the,
I know what you mean, where it has like the... Like... I don't know, it's hard to explain. There's like the bottom part of the leg arches backwards.
Yeah, I think it's because they're kind of standing on their toes, almost like horses or something. But I'm not sure.
I think about like or a pan, or like a satyr, having like the goat legs, where like the top part of the leg up until the knee like arches out pretty far, and then it kind of at the knee it bends back in like a backwards curve.
You'll be shocked to find that when I type Amicus feet, it's entirely fetish art that is not from this game.
You're surprised in what way?
No, I'm just having this moment of like, wait, what? Do you ever see his feet ever? Because he is like a sprite.
I honestly just thought he was like a person, because a person just kind of has like.
And I think these sprites don't have legs.
A person has.
Like they physically don't continue.
People have
after
femurs. They have femurs, and they have a. I used to be in fucking anatomy. And...
Like my character has digitigrade feet, not plantigrade. Like we're plantigrade. But I don't like. I mean, like my persona, not Marco. Marco is a human. But yeah, I don't.
So what are people? People are
plantigrade.
Plantigrade. Okay. What is the other one?
Digitigrade.
Digitigrade.
I used to just say digitgrade, but there's another I think. When I say, and by say I mean I thought, because I would never say this in conversation because it wasn't really coming up.
I've seen shoes that people can buy that have hooves on them that are made to make your legs look like what the fuck you just said. Deciduous trees. Disintegrate, whatever.
You doing okay there? You struggling?
This is not a word I've ever used before in my entire life.
It is legitimately... I've actually been scrolling for a bit here, and it's really hard to find a single picture of Amicus that shows all the way down to his feet.
I consider the rest of his anatomy, I just think it would be very strange if his legs were the way you're describing. I feel like they're just probably like people legs, but that's just me.
There's
guessing.
Like a lot of... There's a fair number of pictures where he's laying down, and a lot of them, his feet are kind of obscured either by each other or his tail or the camera angle.
They just knew people would want to see them too much, so they just hid them away to not distract from everything else.
I mean, I can ask an official source. This is a solvable question.
You definitely could.
But it's like, I'm just having a moment of like just being shocked I don't just know the answer to this question. They look plantigrade. That's my guess right now.
They're not decidui?
You're getting. I like that it's only morphing further until it's just going to be like Bernie Madoff or something. Okay. Anyway, 'cause I was wondering I wonder if he had different legs and that's why the sitting feels different for him or whatever.
I was going to say, what else does he say about it? 'Cause I feel like that might clarify this some more.
Well, laying down like you are actually hurts my neck. I don't know how you're doing it for so long. I rub the left side of my neck as I say that, then carefully uncork the bottle of Verdi. Kato's the same way, but he's old. I take a sip of the cold drink that I've come to really like over the past few weeks. Speaking of Kato, who exactly is he? How did he become the acting emperor? I try circling us back around to the conversation we'd had earlier, wanting to know more about the wolf that's apparently ruling all of Adastra right now.
I mean, there's a lot we don't know about him for sure.
Oh, well, he was father's friend since childhood. He was the imperial legate during the Chemian War. Is that an important position? It's the highest rank in the military, aside from the emperor, of course. He's credited with preventing outright defeat. Huh. Must be kind of weird for him to have Neferu walking around in the palace. Another reason, I wonder why Virginia brought him to the palace. Kato's scars aren't just physical. Physical? I take it you've noticed the visor, yes? Well, he lost an eye and part of his skull during the war. Eventually, the other eye failed as well, and he had to go to our parent to have mechanical vision installed. Anyway, Neferu was born decades after the war, so I doubt Kato holds anything against him specifically. Is he alright with the alliance thing? Knowing this is about Kato makes me worry that he might not agree with Amicus on one of his most controversial policies. I doubt that, but I think he understands it's necessary if we are to begin re-establishing relations with the other siblings. I feel my stomach turn a little as I realize we might be at disadvantage in this trial as well. Amicus, what's going to happen if we lose the next trial? Again, don't worry. I know you don't think it can happen, but if it does, what happens to me? Amicus frowns at me, a meat wrap halfway to his face before he sets it back down. First of all, I won't have you worrying about Cassius's words. What he said was out of anger, and besides, I'll have the measures in place to stop it from ever happening. What measures? I'm not fully sure of that yet, but I will have them in place by the time the next trial comes. Very good measures.
I'm sure they'll be very good measures when you figure out what they are.
And aside from that, what do I do next? Amicus thinks. Like I said, I'll ensure a way home for you. The problem is the illegality of you being here. The more people who know about it, the more likely a monitor may be alerted to what happened. I need to be very careful about who I let know about the situation. Okay. I look down at my food, suddenly having lost my appetite. Amicus sighs, sounding annoyed. Come on, Marco. This is likely going to be our last few weeks here. Stop focusing so much on what's unlikely to happen. Let's enjoy ourselves a little bit.
Okay, so like the selfish part of me like really wants to enjoy our time with Amicus here, right? Like I would love to go be on the beach and just be really lush and just eat a bunch of nice food and have a wonderful time dating this like thick boy, right? but at the same time, I'm like there's a through line in my body that's like, be responsible.
Will I be executed?
That part too.
Will I ever see my family again?
But it's like I'm very aware that you are shirking your responsibilities. This is very, very serious, Amicus. You should be like studying day in, day out. This is like the month where you should just be doing nothing else but like putting your nose to the grindstone, completely focused. You should not even be talking to us right now. You should be like very seriously invested in what you're doing, and then we can have fun afterwards when you win. This is not the time to be fucking around with us on a beach. You shouldn't have days off at all. You should be like really studying.
It's concerning.
Like I'm just like, oh man, I feel like anyone who's like, every once in a while there maybe you're dating someone, right? Maybe you're dating someone and you're like, they say something that's like a little bit concerning. You're like, man, this person might not be necessarily responsible. And it's like, what is my future going to be like with this person? Because they're like, oh yeah, like this and this and this. Like, oh, well, like, oh, it's like, oh, did you text your mom Happy Mother's Day? They're like, oh, I'll do it next week. I don't know, or something like, oh, like.
This person may have not repaired their windshield for 3 years.
Or it's like, oh, I called out to work again today so we can hang out. And I'm like, but don't you need the money for rent? It's like that kind of thing. It's like, I skipped school, I skipped college class today so we can go on like a beach trip. It's like,
start worrying about people on behalf of themselves. But aren't your
grades in college not that great right now? Shouldn't you actually be going to your college class every single day? It's like this kind of stuff. He's our cute boyfriend who's not, he's not acting responsibly. And it's stressful when you're thinking about our future together.
Or what's supposed to not be a future together, specifically.
Yeah, but I'm a proponent of cry now, laugh later, not laugh now, cry later.
The wolf suddenly sits up, brushing the crumbs off his fur before swigging down more wine. Come, let's practice combat. What? I said I didn't want to do that. Well, since you're so worried about Cassius, I'll teach you a few tricks to take him down. Take him down? Well, I don't trust him to keep his paws to himself now. So, if he ever tries to take advantage of you while I'm not around, you can at least hold him off long enough to get away.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and that won't make everything worse. Well, after what happened a few days ago, I suppose it can't get much worse. I slowly get to my feet, straightening out my robes. I'm not so sure about that. Besides, we just ate. Amicus laughs. It's not like you're Kato. I think I'll be able to keep my food and drink down. What about me? I'm not going to hit you or anything. Amicus squares his stance, standing in the sand off to the side of the blanket, still in the shade. I sigh, recognizing that Amicus is in one of those moods where it's hard to talk him out of doing something. I walk over to stand in front of the wolf, my arms folded. And about Kato, I could probably beat him in a fair fight. He just caught me by surprise that last time. I paused and raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean, he started fighting no holds barred without warning. I'd have given him the business if I'd known we were going to do that. Hey, I don't think of you any less for losing a fight to an old man.
Dude, Kato's a pretty intimidating old man. Yeah. Just to throw that out there. I feel like a war hero. He's not a feeble old man. He's not like Jenkins from down the street or something. He's a buff dude, man. He's a daddy for sure. He's a granddaddy. His
head got blown in half apparently. Like Amicus and Cassius just kind of live in a palace forever. That's what they do.
Kato's seen war, you know?
Yeah. Amicus furrows his brow, the way he does when he's realizing that I'm teasing him. I'm serious. So am I. I mean, you almost had me that one time in the spaceship. You're a real force to be reckoned with.
Oh.
Because he beat him too. It's not smart to tease a wolf before a fight, human.
Just imagine someone in the woods being like... Hey, you dumb wolf. You're basically just a dog.
This is what you sound like. I loved you in that Killer song.
You gotta elaborate on which song you're talking about, Keith?
Smile like you mean it. Ooh, ooh. Smile like you mean it.
I think it's... Keith, I think it's the one I first was like, I think Keith might be a furry.
Could I point out that joke?
Because Smile Like You... You're all singing Smile Like You Mean It in the car, and Keith's like... It's like... Ooh, woo, woo, ooh, woo, woo. That's something a furry furry would think that was funny. You like made some comment about it where you're like,
well, I said it's like I just wanted to intentionally ruin the song because
and your brother was like, don't ever say that again. I love this song.
Which only made it better.
You're like, I bet furries like this song because that part's woo woo woo. And every time a I've heard it since that point, I've always thought about you saying that.
I know, because you can't notice
you-
it. I planted the seed.
It's funny for me, but I just imagine your brother's perception is ruined forever.
It's like it's barbed. It's a barbed thought that doesn't come loose. Like it's just stuck in that song now. Like a sticker. Mission accomplished. Smile like you mean it, ruined or improved.
Thank you for seasoning that song for me. You added some pepper onto it.
I'm not teasing. And kicking an unsuspecting man in the balls isn't exactly a win in my book.
No, it's a pretty cheap. That's definitely a.
It is in mine.
Okay.
Clearly, speaking of which, Amicus suddenly steps forward, thrusting a knee up at my crotch. I can only watch in horror as it comes up fast, stopping just an inch from my
I don't even have balls that made me flinch. Like I was like, oh no.
We both stand there a moment before I gasp and stumble back, holding my nuts even though Amicus didn't make contact. What the hell? If you don't want Cassius to hold broken bones against you, go for the genitals. That should be enough to stun him. This goes for anyone else who might try to attack you.
That's my purse. I don't know you.
That's my purse. I don't know you. Bobby is perfect.
I just really like how this really sentimental music is playing while he's telling you to like hit somebody in the crotch if they ever tried to attack you, which I was also taught as a child, which I think is great. My parents taught me that, but I would never do against somebody unless I was very serious about getting away.
Like they're a 7-foot wolf kidnapping you.
I mean, if he looked like Amicus, I might not.
That's a bad strategy. It's a bad guess to make.
He's kind of a cutie boy. So it's okay.
Annoyed, I make as if to do the same to Amicus, but he's already blocking. Yes, just like that. Though try to be a little more subtle. You telegraph your moves far too much.
Like in Street Fighter. Don't telegraph your moves
like a Dark Souls boss. You need to be more of a Elden Ring bullshit boss. I stopped struggling
Wave
with the
dash.
Wave dash. All right. I stopped struggling with the wolf, breathing heavily. Fine. Then, as Amicus starts to drop his guard, I try to swat him in the crotch. He snatches up my hand immediately. Ah! Better, Marco, though you should probably try something harder than a flowery slap. I try to shove the wolf away, but he steps to the side and gives me a shove as well. I trip over something, and it's not until I'm on my ass that I realize he'd stuck his foot out behind me. I look up at Amicus and he stands over me, the expression on his face showing me that he's trying very hard not to laugh. Tangle up his feet and you should be able to send him to the ground fairly easily. If he breaks any of his bones from the fall, then at least he can't say you did it intentionally.
Ooh, that's a pretty good strat.
Amicus reaches down with a paw to help me back up. I take it, and he pulls me up easily, almost lifting me to my feet. Off my feet. This is great and all, but I don't see how this is going to help me. I wasn't even the one that broke his tail, and he wanted me killed. Again, with me standing in the way, he won't ever get the chance to try anything, and if he even intends to. This is only to give you a chance to get away from him.
It's very sweet that he's giving us a self-defense lesson.
Yeah. Amicus brushes the sand off my robes. Besides, this is useful in any situation, not just for us. Amicus chokes on his last syllable as I ram my shoulder into him, grabbing at his legs. I try to trip him up, kind of like how I saw Kato do with him in the amphitheater. Obviously, someone as small as me going up against a hulking wolf like Amicus is bound to fail, but the wolf does stumble back a few steps. Hey! Amicus chuckles, and I feel him let himself fall backwards to the sand. It reminds me of the last time we'd wrestled on the beach, except now I end up on top with my fall cushioned by his body, my face bouncing against his massive chest.
Dude, he would be very cushiony. I can imagine it.
Amicus grins at me. Oof. Not bad, not bad. With a little more force, you might be able to knock down someone as small as Cassius.
How big are we? I mean, we don't have context, but...
I imagine we're 5'10", which is like a default template male human height.
I said it's almost I mean, it's a little bit more than a Stephanie size. So I'll just imagine me.
Yeah.
It's like set up perfectly for you to imagine yourself in this situation. No.
Just completely confuse the narrative.
Oh, that would ruin everything. The whole us being gay thing would be confusing.
Yeah, whoops, Stephanie's getting hard.
I mean, I do wonder what that would be like.
I pinned the wolf down, my hands on his shoulders. Oh, please, I knocked you down fair and square.
Square?
This time, I'm the one to yelp my last syllable, Amicus easily reversing our positions as he rolls us both over. I find myself staring up at the wolf, his massive paws on my shoulders, his knees spread to either side of my thighs as he's careful not to rest his weight on top of me. He grins down at me, chest heaving for breath as his tongue dangles out of his muzzle a bit, the way it sometimes do when he's buzzed.
Oh.
Or giving a grin, or giving his grin a dopey quality.
Or when he's being a cute doggo.
Yeah. That's one of the funny things about the time that he was so mad at Neferu is that his tongue was sticking out slightly. He probably didn't know. It's like, it really makes it look goofier. He's hunched over me to the point where his tongue almost touches my nose. Although I try to keep my face in a scowl, I can't stop the smile from coming through, and pretty sure I'm laughing a little. I'm about to tell Amicus that this whole thing is hardly fair when he leans down fully, pressing his lips to mine in a kiss.
Aww.
I gasp in surprise, but it's through my nose as my mouth is sealed to his. My eyes are wide, his closed, as he presses harder against my lips. As he's bent over me, his paws left my shoulders to instead hold my head steady, one paw against my cheek, the other cupped around my head, his whole body huddling around my face. I don't move, not hugging back, but not turning away either. Instead, I just lay there, as I feel my heart skip a beat, the feeling of the big, strong wolf crouched over me, kissing me, sending a thrill from my chest down to my crotch. The wolf's broad, cold nose twitches against mine before a hot huff of breath escapes it and washes over my face. At the same time, Amicus suddenly rolls off me, our lips parting just as quickly as they'd connected as he flops to the side of his back, mirroring my spread eagle position. We lay there next to each other, my heart hammering as I listened to the wolf breathing heavily next to me. Aside from that, the only other sounds are the waves washing up against the shore a few dozen yards away. A few minutes pass in silence as I wait for the wolf to say something. He doesn't, and finally it gets to the point where I have to say something. So... Amicus responds instantly with an innocent, inquisitive grunt. What was that? The kiss. Yeah. Just thought I owed it to you after Mira. I botched it during the performance, after all. They finally got to have it in private instead of during that setup. I mean, I'm glad that it was a horrible time to try to do that.
Yeah. No, like...
That was probably what fucked him up, is that he probably realized mid-performance that was going to be their first kiss. And he cares. So it's like, oh no.
Like I said, in every narrative where there's any situation, like a play or whatever, where two characters who actually care about each other have to kiss, that it screws everything up if they haven't actually kissed beforehand. Yep. Because the amount of like stress and pressure that goes into like the thought process of that being your first kiss, and also just the thought of having to kiss someone that you like in like a way that seems disingenuine.
It was
like,
one
really
of
screws up.
It was just yet another thing it completely failed to think through.
Like obviously Cassius and Alex had been making out before.
They just can't keep their hands off each other the moment doors close, apparently.
I saw that little image of them that was very cute, but it definitely was not people I've never kissed before. I mean, but Amicus, don't say it's just because of the Mira performance. Say it's because you wanted to.
The wolf sounds distant, distracted, like he's not paying attention to me. I finally prop myself up on an elbow, looking directly at Amicus now. Really? Like a child, Amicus looks away towards the lake, not saying anything. I wait a while longer, giving him a chance to respond. A chance he doesn't take. I sigh. Talk to me. What is there to say? I frown. A lot. I'm kind of confused, honestly. A big, huffing sigh, then. I like you, Marco. Quite a bit, in fact. I know. I like you, too. We technically confessed our feelings to each other when Amicus asked me on that date, but only technically.
Technically, it isn't.
Are you drunk? Maybe a little, but I knew what I was doing. More silence. Amicus. Could you look at me? Amicus's ears go flat. Then he slowly turns his head towards me. But his eyes are down, looking at my chest rather than my face.
Oh, gosh. My eyes are up here. Oh, my gosh.
I think about making a "my eyes are up here" joke, but I know it'll fall flat on him, with him, just like my chest. Listen, we've already sort of talked about this. The problem is the situation we're in. It makes the whole dating thing impossible. I see Amicus smile at the word, then frown again. I know. But if we feel the same, why not be a little closer? I know you'll have to leave soon, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the time we have together. Sure. But I think that'll make saying goodbye a little harder, don't you? Maybe. But we'll find a way to see each other again. Because he always just decides that what he wants will happen.
He says stuff confidently.
Yeah.
And isn't able to make it.
Yeah.
It's not that he doesn't follow through on it. It's just that it doesn't happen the way that he sees it's going to happen. It's not as if it's like not like he does his best.
Yeah.
I just don't think that he's aware of the situation around what he says. I don't think he knows the details before he says something.
Yep. What he's saying makes sense, but this whole situation has red flags all over
everywhere.
Having feelings for my abductor in a situation that's completely illegal is so wrong in so many ways.
Yeah.
Amicus is talking about this like it could be an innocent fling, but this feels like more than that. The wolf has the same dejected look he'd worn when he came out to me a few weeks ago.
It's already been a few weeks, wow.
Yeah. So I reach out a hand and rest it on his paw. He looks at me then, ears still low, but his expression hopeful. Everything's just so messed up and complicated. Yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kissed you. Maybe not. I swallow. But I liked it.
I swallowed, but I liked it.
God damn it.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Amicus snaps his eyes back up to look at me. Really? You swallow?
And you liked it?
Yeah. The wolf lets out a huge sigh of relief. You didn't kiss back, though. It worried me that I'd made a mistake once again. I was surprised at all. And what do you mean, once again? The wolf seems to contemplate something, then turns on his side, too, finally facing me. About 5 years ago, I shared my first kiss with another male. Oh? At the time, there were rumors that I'd performed poorly with a female my father had arranged me to be with. Oh. Amicus's ears turn red. Anyway, so this male approaches me during the summer festival. He was the son of one of the triumvirs of Tricelli. He made it very clear what he wanted from me. He kissed me on the balcony while a covert drone recorded the exchange. It was broadcast on the information channels the next day.
Oh, so he was like a plant.
Yeah. I frown. Why? Amicus shrugs, looking down at the sand. The triumvir had a past grievance with my father. He used mine and his own son's sexual preferences to get back at him. What happened then? Well, father used his power to shut down the networks along with banishing the triumvir and his family to Anchorus. Amicus nods up at the sky where Anchorus looms monolithically in its faded, chalky gray, because that's the planet they're orbiting.
Yeah.
It was an unpopular decision, but father felt it had to be done. Obviously, it's left me a bit worried about kissing and pursuing other men. I squeeze his paw. Well, you don't have to worry about that with me, obviously. I don't know anyone here, and I'm trying to stay out of other people's business as much as possible. I know. Amicus squeezes back. I'm still sorry, though. I should have asked or not done it. You're fine. Another stretch of silence, and I get the feeling that Amicus is waiting for an answer when he confirms, which he confirms with what he says next. What I find interesting here is that Marrow is like an almost impossibly safe person for him to potentially pursue his feelings with. That like
you're saying that he's a safe person for Amicus to pursue his feelings.
Yeah, because Amicus is completely fucked. Like it's this area. This like he's from a homophobic culture, and he specifically was targeted because he had been with a man. Yeah, there was rumors about him, so they specifically targeted him and filmed that and so on. And so like there's like a huge incentive for him to never actually like be himself ever again, essentially. But then you have this like a literal space alien shows up who's also gay. And is in a special situation where he's essentially just Amicus's little secret, and so it's
and he's your pet in a culture where that's okay for them to be doing like weird sexual kinky shit with you and taking showers with you and shit.
Well, it's like it's like this. There's a specific special alien that is exactly
there's a specific exception around this person, which is you. Yeah,
this is the moment where you realize that like to an extent. We are the fetish alien.
Yeah, we are the fetish alien.
Like, yes. If you go into this thing expecting like Alien Wolf abducts you and how we're going to do kinky stuff, it's a porn game. LOL. The role is literally reversed. You're playing as the character that actually
you're a very convenient
isn't super
person.
Into that exact idea.
You're a very convenient person for him to be with, which makes you question whether or not his feelings for you are genuine.
Yeah, but also like the main character is very specifically like Amicus is very specifically like you are a weird series of perfect not coordinates, vectors. I don't know. You have all this specific. You have all the right specific lucky characteristics to make this exact thing work out. It's like extremely unusual.
We have all the correct traits. Yeah. For this to be like a home run for Amicus.
Hey, what? Another stretch of silence, and I get the feeling that Amicus is waiting for an answer, which he confirms with what he says next. So, if you're fine with it, did you want to date me? Amicus says the foreign word very carefully, and for a moment the linguist skips a beat in its steady translation.
Do you want to date me?
Allowing him to speak the word unfiltered. It's still his voice, but with the heavy accent that comes through is surprising. Even a little sexy.
That's actually very cool.
So he said it.
So he said it like it's like when you're listening to like an anime opening theme song and they say
and they
ready steady give me good luck.
Ready steady give me good luck.
Good luck.
So you heard it. We heard it.
We heard the English word in there.
I know I should say no though. The red flags fluttering ominously around our precarious, even dangerous situation. I'll think about it over the next few days, then let you know. Amicus smiles a little. Okay. But you need to be focusing on the trial, so no thinking about this while I'm deciding.
Yeah, no, seriously. Get the fuck to work, dude. Like, I'm very scared for you.
I groan inwardly as I realize I've just added another distraction to the wolf's goal of becoming emperor. You promise this won't distract you?
It will.
Definitely not.
I don't believe you.
That's a face you can trust.
I mean, he's very cute.
I give the wolf a look of disbelief as he responds with a glare. Marrow, I've wanted this my entire life. I know it might not have seemed like it earlier, but I'm taking this very, very seriously. And I won't be a distraction?
I already am. You already are. We are. We're fucking everything up. I mean, it's all Amicus's fault. It's not our fault. We definitely are distracting and fucking shit up.
Of course not. In fact, I think it would be rather positive for me to know that you return my feelings to some degree. It gives me even more confidence. Oh, God, no.
Oh, no, God, no.
Hey. Amicus sets a paw on my shoulder, and it looks like he wants to lean in and kiss me again, but he doesn't. Thank you for understanding and putting up with me. I have a good feeling about, well, everything now. I don't know how much I agree, considering our situation is causing us so many problems, but I set my hand in his paw anyway. Sure. Well, see how that fucking turns out.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Good luck.